like it's not like I have to use that word or I have fun using that word or anything. It's just that I just learned that word and I learned a meaning that word had, and I was using it in that sense. And a lot of times, obviously, I would use it as like an insult, just like I would use idiot or whatever. And hearing that there's people that are marginalized that would find that offensive or be hurt by that word or think back to when they were bullied or when they had problems when their abusive dad would call them that word or something is just horrible. And I sit there and go like, well, is it worth me hanging on to one measly word in my vocabulary just out of convenience because just out of convenience because you don't get to control my language, or is it worth it just to be like, hey, why do I need that word? Why don't I would phase out any word that that would offend a large group of people, because why would I use that word, right? And that's kind of where my opinion shifted to, and that's something that I think I've maintained the same thing. There are a lot of people that go around masquerading on Twitter and other places on behalf of people that that don't care, right? That was something that I said at the time. That's something that I still do believe, that there's a lot of people that do that. But just because there are people that do that doesn't mean there's not people that are actually offended. And it doesn't, just because somebody's offended of something you do doesn't mean you have to stop doing that thing. But if it's not something that it's not like central to your life, it's not like somebody comes to me and says, hey, change the title of your Minecraft Manhunt series, it's offensive. Obviously, like, I'm not going to do that. But if it's something like a word in my vocabulary that is hurting people, why would I not? And that's kind of where especially I think it's also something that as a creator is different, because as a creator, my responsibility, or at least what I think, is again, I have a debt to my audience, right? I have a debt to people who watch me, people who care about me and my content. And obviously, if there are a group of people that that care about that, then why I'm trying not to offend people in my videos. I'm trying not to offend people in general, and not make people hurt, not people be reminded of bad times in their life. And so that's why I think I shifted my opinion, and I genuinely did. And it's something that I'm sure if you had me saying this to myself 4 years ago, I don't think it would have changed my opinion, because I think it really is just experience. Like I think that just hearing it from somebody doesn't, having something, because I had people tell me, obviously back then as well, even on Twitter, saying like, that's so offensive and you shouldn't say that. But I think it really does just take experience and interacting with people who have genuinely been affected by the word, and people who genuinely have had issues with it, and especially people that look up to you, and then they see their favorite creator using a word that's harmful to them, and that is used to degrade people who have the same disability as them. And I think that's where I changed my opinion.
Fair enough. No, I mean, hey, that's a personal choice. For me, it's always it's gone back and forth, because whenever somebody raises it as an issue, somebody's like, you can't say that, that's so offensive, I immediately have, like, right underneath that, I see, like, 4 people that are like, I'm neurodivergent, I think that word's hilarious. Like, I don't want this to be this sort of thing that makes me feel different, that, like, this can't be used. So that's kind of where I've always gone back and forth on it. But obviously, dude, you're fucking entitled to do whatever the fuck you're gonna do. I'm not calling you a sellout because you won't say that anymore, you know what I mean? Like,
no. Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, there's some people that can have a differing opinion and think that that can still have a differing opinion. Because I remember even originally when I first started phasing out my vocabulary, it wasn't. I still had my opinion, and it was before the whole Twitter stuff. I'd already started phasing out my vocabulary just because I knew a lot of people didn't like the word, and I was like, oh well, I mean, I don't really have a need to say it. Why I might as well just phase it out of my vocabulary. But I know there are some people that can have that can have that opinion without intending to harm people. But I think especially as creators, I think it becomes different than like average Joe, just because like I'll reach millions of people, will hear what I say and look up to me and use the same language as me, or learn to say the things that I say. And I think that's also part of my responsibility as a creator. And yeah, so I think that's just generally where my opinion was formed from. But I know a lot of people have pointed to that as like, this is what Dream used to be like, and now this is proof that he's changed to it. This is proof that he's a clout chaser, and he secretly has these opinions. And it's like, well, no, can you believe it? From when I was a 17-year-old to when I'm a 21-year-old living on my own and living life, I've changed my opinions. But yeah.
Yeah, people grow and people change. It makes total sense. And like, this is the thing too, is I can tell that just from the way that you're speaking about this right now, it's not like you're trying to go around and bludgeon other content creators over the head and be like, you have to be just like me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the impression I'm getting from you at all with this.
Yeah, no, people can form their own opinions. And that's the thing is like with Twitter, like I've always been against, like I don't like even with myself, like I'll get occasionally I'll get something, hate for not doing something. And I've said it before. I've said like if you hate on somebody so much to the point where they do that something you want them to do, it doesn't, it's not meaningful. Like it's not meaningful at all. It's like, because I remember back in the day I was getting a lot of hate on Twitter for not tweeting something about an issue involving Black Lives Matter when it was coming to the death of George Floyd, and that issue was horrible. And I remember I was planning on tweeting something, and I did end up tweeting something, but I was getting tweeted at constantly, telling me, oh, you need to, like, I can't believe Jern doesn't care about black people and all these things. And I was thinking to myself, like, let's say that I didn't. Like, obviously I did. But I'm saying, let's say that I didn't. Like, if I end up tweeting something because people are pushing me to do it, that doesn't, it doesn't mean anything. Like, you shouldn't then be like, oh, this person is righteous because they tweeted this. And so I think that's my big problem with that is kind of like cancel culture or whatever, like on Twitter. Is people try and be way too like pushy with everything when it comes to holding people accountable for things they do. Like, sure, inform people, but once you've seen 1,000 people inform somebody, your next 1,000, like, all it might do is pressure somebody into doing something they didn't want to do, and then that's it. It doesn't, if they're a creator you look up to, that you shouldn't want them to do that. You should want them to form an opinion on their own and come to the conclusion that, hey, this is the better thing to do. And obviously when it comes to the George Floyd thing, like, I remember watching the video back then and thinking how horrible it was, and I was like tweeting something that night, and I was like, I don't even know what the hell to say. Like, this is just ridiculous. And I think that's why there can just be genuine misunderstandings, or a creator can have time to form an opinion or change their opinion, or in a certain case a creator may just disagree with you, and if don't watch them.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's, for me, I also want to come back to that, where like that tweet in particular actually jumped out to me because I was immediately like, what the fuck, dude? But now that you say that, it makes total sense. And mainly that was coming from my perspective of literally being in group chats with people that are like, you have to tweet about this right now, get your brownie points, basically. And I was like, well, now that I saw that, I'm like, I'm never fucking tweeting out performative activism. You know what I mean? But I don't.
Yeah.
You're not coming from that perspective at all on this, is what I'm getting here. Like, you genuinely, you cared about something, so you posted about it, and that is obviously well within your right. And I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also do think that there are some things that it's not about that at all. But like in certain situations where it's like, maybe I'd rather not tweet something. But I know that also I'm a representative of my audience. Like, my Twitter platform is there because of my audience, and so if my audience feels strongly about something, I may do something that's slightly outside my comfort zone just because of that, which I wouldn't view as performative activism or whatever.
No, I wouldn't view it that way either. No.
Yeah, but I do think that there's people can take it too far sometimes and not recognize that, hey, you should, like, people, if you force somebody into, it's like forcing somebody into an apology. Like, if you tell someone to apologize to you and then they apologize to you, like, obviously that apology means way less than if they just do it. And I think that's kind of something that I've had a problem with Twitter for a while. But I think people have gotten slightly better at it. And I know since I said that a while ago, people have mentioned that when certain things came up, like, hey, don't pressure the dream team, don't pressure the creators into tweeting about this or doing this or like acknowledging this right now, because it makes them anxious and it makes them, it forces them into making, even if it's like, I was planning on like an hour from now putting a lot of thought into this and putting out like a well thought out tweet or whatever, and then it's like, no, well, I have to do it now, and then it ends up being less meaningful and less personal to the creator or whatever. But yeah, guess I'm rambling on a little bit.
No, that makes total sense, dude. No, like, you've clarified a lot of shit today, and like I said, I kind of had this suspicion in the very beginning that, like, when I was going to talk to you, you were going to come off as just a genuine dude. Like, I don't mean to hold you to the negative standards of what I've seen other people do. I just kind of, as I said before, it's kind of like, it's an excellent vector to kind of raise the issues that I was, you know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like that's kind of like I said, like I even to bring it back to Josh and like even over like the whole what I just said about performative activism thing is like I know that I was talking to him even about it at the time where we were like, dude, so many creators are shitty like that. You know what I mean? Like they will just do what they need to do. And like I said, like the amount of times I've been fucking told, I'm just gonna use these people as hard as I can and then be gone. It's like clearly you don't have that mentality, and I appreciate you having this dialogue to even clear that stuff up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's things are very strange in the internet right now, and I want to ask you too. Where do you see things going with online culture? Just you're in a very unique position to view things. I feel like you're you know what I mean. You can kind of see where this stuff's going, perhaps more than the average Joe.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit?
Kind of like the way that you see fan communities functioning in like a year or two's time, maybe just from what you've seen with like your whole Dream Team situation, just even interacting with other creators, because things definitely are changing to me. I mean, they always are changing, but in a very dramatic way. And I think that COVID probably has quite a large impact on that, with everyone being shut in and stuff. But where do you see?
Yeah, I think COVID had an impact for sure, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's been large fan groups since like the beginning of time, basically.
Oh, of course. I mean, like beyond that, just kind of like the I'm talking even more with like live streaming in general, like the way that fans interact with creators. Where do you think the next shift will be? I mean, obviously none of us know. I just figured it.
Yeah, I feel like it's impossible to guess, but I mean, I really don't know. I think that people, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. I think it really does. It does depend on. I mean, like you said, Corona affected a lot. Like, what if there's something else like that ends up affecting it a lot? I think anything could happen. I think that the base of things will be the same, just because they've been the same for. They're almost always the same, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel like none of us can tell. I just figured it would be,
Yeah.
it'd be an interesting thing to ask you.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's really hard to predict. Like anything involving the internet, it's hard to predict because there's so many moving parts. And
You know what I mean?
and this is interesting. So this is something that I think that a lot of people, I've had a very unique approach to drama since the beginning of my YouTube career. I think YouTube is a very fish eat fish world. Like in terms of like if you let something simmer, like let's say I didn't say anything, like maybe there's a chance nothing happens. But there's also a chance that because these 10 drama channels covered it, one of them blows up. And then somebody big sees that, and then one of theirs blows up, and whatever. And it's like this ongoing story, and the narrative becomes Dream is an asshole that slanders small creators, and Dream is an asshole that's a liar and slandered the small creator just because it was fun. Like he had no reason to other than that. Like he's totally started it, and then he streamed to 300,000 people. And so before that, so obviously then my approach to drama has always been that it's just responding. Like you just like generally just responding. I was like, yeah, sure, I might give an idiot attention. Like sure, whatever. Like I agree that especially people who sometimes start drama, like want that attention. But also if somebody, let's say somebody calls me, like with John Swan, like calling me out like directly and saying things that I believe are false and accusing me of things, like that could spiral out of control. And me responding to that is my way of going like, hey, now there's no confusion. Here's exactly how I feel. Here's exactly why I feel that way. Here's the proof. And then I do it in an entertaining way. That way my fans don't feel like I'm just all about drama. And I've done that since the beginning. And I feel like I've had success with that, even though it does make some people be like, "Oh, Dream's a drama queen. He gets into drama all the time." It's like, no, I get into just as much drama as the average big YouTuber. Yeah. It's just that I address it more than the average next guy. And a lot of people would say, "Well, that's annoying. You shouldn't address it as much." But it's like, well, then just ignore it. Like if you don't want to, I don't post it on my main. I've never posted drama on my main channel ever. I posted only drama on my second channel once ever. It's like I may tweet about it. I may stream it. Like if you don't want to see it, then just ignore it. Like it's not like every tweet on my timeline or something is drama. But yeah, so I know also a lot of people come across and go like, oh don't like don't you feel bad for like like potentially like ending someone's career or something. And I'm sitting there like look, this guy tweeted out at me knowing how many followers I have, knowing that I'm a big YouTuber, knowing that I wouldn't like what he had to say. And if me responding, sharing my side of things,